We are 10 hours and 53 minutes away from the trade deadline. I'm live with Matty G, D-Mac, our usual Thursday night drinks and fantasy basketball. Let's call it that. Drinks first, I think. This is Fantasy Basketball International. This is Balls Deep.
I hear something.
It's coming from below.
I think you've become mad.
Almost as if something is moving below us.
Act a little peculiar and you're an outsider. Perhaps you've always been mad.
We nerve this program to bring you a live broadcast from the once defunct but now resurrected lost arts.
Listen, don't you feel it?
Brigham.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast, part of the Fantasy Basketball International podcast network. I am Adam King at AdamKing91 on Twitter is where you can find me at FBI Basketball on Twitter. FBIBasketball.com is the website. Our usual Thursday night show, timing is pretty good. As I said, we're just under 11 hours away from the trade deadline. So we are going to chat about the trades, albeit the very boring fantasy irrelevant trades, but we've got to talk about something. So maybe something happens. We've got Twitter ready just in case Woj decides to tweet something out at 4 a.m. Over there. Let's bring the boys in, D-Mac and Matty G, who I've got on mute. Let's unmute them.
Thanks.
There we go. That's better. Boys, how are we?
Doing well, Kingy. G'day, Matty.
G'day, D-Mac. How you doing, mate? Look, I'm good that we got on. I know StreamYard's been given everyone some grief. I know Mickey Dell and Skitty from the Insight team. I've got an AFL podcast that was supposed to go half an hour ago, and they couldn't. So we're lucky. We're blessed. Shout out to them for fighting a good fight.
Yeah, we all had a few issues getting in. And so if I do apologize if we drop out unexpectedly, StreamYard, there was a thing up on their screen when I logged on and said that users were reporting technical difficulties and they were investigating. So whether it's been fixed or whether we just got lucky, I don't know. But here we are. We made it. Have we got our drink? Well, I know you've yep. Okay, what have we got? Hold up our drinks. We've got Sidetrack.
Good Gage Road.
Yeah, the little fat lamb. That's very good, on brand.
Yeah, Sidetrack, nice drop from Gage Road's WA Classic.
Okay, very nice. So I didn't go the little fat lamb tonight because I was
you
down
pivoted.
the shop grabbing a couple of things.
Could you not get Xavier Tillman in a trade, so you had to pivot elsewhere?
I popped my head into the bottle shop and found. Let's get these up. Bit of James Squire.
That's the wife's favourite one.
Beer.
That is good gear.
4-pack for $9. So
bargain.
I was all over that. That usually guides my what I purchase. Whatever's on sale, it's usually something that isn't very nice or isn't made anymore. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Decent, Kingy? Tastes all right?
I'll tell you in a second.
My wife, their normal one is Matzo's ginger beer. Shout out to Western Australia, D-Mac. Like Matzo's ginger beer is the number one alcoholic ginger beer, hands down. Brookvale Union a deep second, but the wife loves the Squire's normal one. So good choice, Kingy.
Yeah. No, look, I have still got the little fat lamb in the fridge, but I thought I'd pivot tonight and go with something different. We'll start with the trades. Not as I said, not really a lot to talk about from a fantasy perspective, I don't think. The two trades we're sort of looking at, and these happened, I feel like it was sort of when I woke up this morning, probably similar for you guys. Fontecchio has been traded for, I don't know, who was it? Kevin Knox, wasn't it? I think
Kevin Knox, yeah.
That's how important these trades were. So they're the two pieces. I think there was some picks there as well, but Fontecchio is probably the name that warrants a bit of discussion. Kevin Knox, I wouldn't think he's going to play much of a role in Utah, but Fontecchio had been starting in Utah, and I think Knox had sadly been starting in Detroit. Anything to do with Fontecchio here? Like, do we think he gets a bump? Is he worth considering picking up in a standard league?
I think he's a deeper league consideration, but I think there's some more moves to happen, Kingy. I think this is just the start of it. So I'm not racing you out to do anything with Simone Fontecchio or any of the guys that are traded yesterday. Just we'll play it cool for now.
It just kills his immediate stream value for anyone who pulled him in for the next couple of games, to be fair, or was thinking of looking for some Jazz action. Like, he'd been starting. He'd been, streamable here and there. And definitely in 14-man comps, he was riding a lot of benches and guys waiver-wise. But I just think that's taken a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much. I mean, as you said, I don't think Detroit are done. Maybe if they move Bogdanovic and they move Alec Burks, and maybe that frees up. But as we sort of alluded to, I mean, Fontecchio has been starting. He hasn't necessarily been playing starters minutes, been playing sort of 25 minutes, 26 minutes. So, yeah, look, maybe he has some stream value at some point down the stretch. But, yeah, we're not rushing to add him. He's not a priority. I guess the thing that popped into my head initially was, well, what does this do in Utah? Because he's gone and he was starting, and I don't think Kevin Knox will start. So could they start Kelly Olynyk? The only thing with that is I think Kelly Olynyk's probably going to be traded. So
Yes.
if for some reason trade talks fall apart and Olynyk's still there and he does move into the starting lineup, maybe we go and add him. But I wouldn't be doing that just yet because there are probably quite a few teams interested in Kelly Olynyk. Wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers, or it's just a team who needs a really good floor spacing backup center. There's a lot of teams that could use Kelly Olynyk. So I'm sure there is no shortage of suitors. Anything else in Utah?
Going back to, I was just going to say, Kingy, there's been talk of him going back to Boston as well, which would be quite romantic. But yeah, that would kill his value altogether.
Yeah, and I mean, that perfect segue into the next trade, Xavier Tillman heading to Boston. Are we this basically kills Tillman's streaming value. He's been out the last couple of games anyway. I'm not touching anyone in Memphis, and I don't think I will be. But if you were holding him, I think you can just go ahead and move on now because he's going to be purely backup. There'll be moments, there'll be games down the stretch in the last 30 games of the season where he probably gets a start because Porzingis will do something, Horford will rest. So there'll be little moments, but generally speaking, he's probably going to be 15 minutes a night playing the backup. I like it as a real-life pickup for Boston. I think he's a solid addition there. But are we doing anything with this Boston-Memphis trade?
No, leaving that one alone, Kingy. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to. No, look, Memphis is. I think Matty. I've got to bring up the message. Matty Matrix from Insight. He's a massive Grizzlies fan, so he was obviously on the whole it's okay. We'll put it together. 25 games in, Ja will come back, and it'll be all right. And then he was obviously in tears when Jaren Jackson Jr. decided to be the worst power forward center he's ever been in his entire life to start the season. They've just had a shit run, and he said, "I'm trying to bring up the photo." He sent me the one the other day, and it was just this, that there was 13 outs, whatever it was, for the Memphis Grizzlies. So it's almost like you could, by committee, just randomly start any player any night from Memphis, and they might be able to go okay. I can't remember what it was he sent me, and it was like they basically had to call up some G League. I think a guy in the second row of the crowd just got given a jersey to sit on their bench for the night, and he got a 10-day contract out of the situation.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the Grizzlies situation at this point in time.
Yeah, it's not fun. Theoretically, there's fantasy value there, but knowing who it's going to be, they could still move a number of pieces. So
they had 13 players out due to injury versus the Celtics.
Yeah, injury.
And I've got a lot of Vince Williams shares as well, and I'm just not that confident that he's going to play every single game.
He's playing too well, so they have to bench him.
That's the issue.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, this is something that I was actually looking at this, and I'll just bring it up now because I was looking at it because we're sort of this week we've been preaching don't add people yet. Keep your waiver wire pickups for after the trade deadline. But this is actually one that I noticed. I didn't see this game because I was at work, but Valanciunas went down with, I believe, a calf injury.
Yes.
and Larry Nance started the second half, played about 28 minutes. Didn't have a great line, but he had 4 steals. So I don't know. Would you consider going and getting Nance as a bit of a preemptive thing? I don't know whether either of you saw this injury to JV and whether it is something that might cause him to miss time. But is Nance someone that you would consider not wasting, but using one of your pickups on this week?
I saw the injury. I saw it happen. There was a collision with BI. Didn't look too serious, and he was able to walk himself to the locker room. And he's considered day-to-day at this stage. But we know that Nance is a bit of a fantasy darling. He's always had that ability. I think if you got enough moves, he could be one of these speculative ads. But again, it really depends on how many moves you do have in your league as well. I don't know if I would blow a move on Nance if I only had 3 moves going into trade deadline.
I'll actually play devil's advocate and say that I would. I would actually say I just grab him, not even as a speculative ad, but because New Orleans does have a back-to-back set on Friday and Saturday. So I don't know if they're going to rush JV back there or play him one of the 2 games, necessarily speaking. And Saturday is a really heavy day as well with 11 games on for Saturday. So have a look and see if you have a center or a power forward spot. In 1 center leagues, if JV was your center, you probably just want to make a speculative pickup at this point and pick him up in that situation. If you've got an IR spot, tune into Larry Nance, pick him into your squad, put Jonas into the IR. 11 games is going to be harder to stream, but there's only 6 games on Friday. So look, it's a back-to-back set. I don't know if they're going to race him. So if you do have and you can store him. If not, yeah, you could look elsewhere. It's
a nice handcuff, but when I go to trade deadline, I'm looking at longer-term value rather than maybe a short-term. So I'm thinking something that may actually push the needle and get me a win in the league. But yeah, I like your point, Matty.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we it's tough. We don't have any information on this injury, and it could be a month injury. If it's a calf injury, we saw Zubats miss 3 weeks. I want to say 3.5 weeks. So maybe, but we just don't know. Life of Cuz, we don't have Fab in our league, and I'm in 2 of those leagues. So it's first come, first served. And I was talking to the boys off air that for us here in Australia, obviously, and probably a lot of the listeners, a lot of this action is going to happen tonight while we're asleep. So, it'll be a restless night and checking Twitter and checking what's going on because at least one of the leagues I'm in, I'm the only person not in the US. So if I want to snap up some of these potential values based on trades and things like that, I'm going to need to do it pretty quickly. So, it is going to be a long night of refreshing Twitter and checking my lineups and checking waivers, which
it's going to be a long day for me during my my day job as well. It's going to shout out to anyone watching from work, but I'm going to be hopeless tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's even earlier for you. Trade deadline. So for myself and Matty, trade deadline is 7 a.m. And for you, Dan, it's 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Yeah.
And I believe you'll be up with Kayla doing a show at 4 a.m.
I'll be up at 2:30 and I'll be doing a show with another person, Puppy Roy. But then Kayla's going to join me as soon as deadline hits. I think she's going onto your show as well.
Yeah, she is. She's coming onto my show after that. So yes, it will be an early morning. I do have tomorrow off work because I have a couple of things I have to do in the afternoon. So I not getting a lot of sleep won't be the end of the world. Now, this is just something I thought because I was just going to focus on trades and things like that, but because we haven't really had any trades, I just came up with a topic. I was listening to the RotoWire show this afternoon on my way home from work, and they were discussing biggest busts of the season so far and who it is for you. So the next lot of text after this one is actually a short list of players who were drafted inside the top 100. So their Yahoo ADP was inside the top 100. And I've put them in order of where their ADP compares to their 9-category player rank this season. So the player with the biggest difference is your biggest bust, so to speak. But before I bring that up, I thought just biggest busts for you guys, and this might just be someone who isn't even on my list, but who you've got on your team, who has been really disappointing this year. I don't know, Dan, we'll start with you.
I don't have him on any of my teams, but I talked him up, as a lot of analysts did, but it's Jordan Poole. But I say he's a bust right now. That's an obvious call. But I feel like come trade deadline, there could be some value for the rest of the season. There could be some moves made that does help his value moving forward. I don't think he gets traded away, but I think some guys could be traded for, such as Tyus Jones, that would allow him to play more point guard, get some more usage as well. But yeah, so far, easy one for me, Jordan Poole.
All right, Matty, what about you?
Oh, don't do this to me, Kingy. Look, it's hard because I don't think I was too aggressive on anyone. I kind of tempered my expectations a little bit from where they went. I think the biggest disappointment of late, to be honest, would probably be I did draft Steph Curry at one point in one league, and I did trade him out early for a good return. So he was disappointing as of late, but obviously he's Stephen Curry, and then he just does these things like he has the last few games, and we take for granted the magic that the guy really and truly is. Like I heard Wajni Lambre on one of the Ringer podcasts go that he would love. Don't discount the fact that LeBron could be in. If a LeBron trade, we wake up to a massive one that he ends up in Golden State because he wants to play with Stephen Curry. How great that would be! And I laughed about it. And it would kind of be because we kind of forget that. I think the one that probably hurts me the most is Miles Turner, because I wanted to put it. You were there with me, Kingy, when we wanted to do a Pacers stack. And I really like the concept of a Pacers stack of guys like Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So the two big ones you were looking for. And he's just been really disappointing of late. He doesn't look to be as engaged. And yeah, I think for me, seeing him slip down outside the top 100 in the last 3 weeks has been just sad, really sad.
Yeah, I do think that probably coincides a little bit with the Halliburton injury and the limited minutes. Like I think he just needs him on the court to really thrive. But yeah, look, both players have been disappointing. Jordan Poole for me was the one that came to mind. Especially fresh off his 0-point performance today. Really, like we just keep waiting for him to turn it around, but I don't know.
So he won the spud off today. That was a great tweet today. There was having
a spud off with Garland. Garland at least got. I think he ended with 11-5 or something. It was still a pretty spuddy performance, but Paul did win that. So here's the list. So Scoot Henderson, his ADP was 101. So I've included him in here. His player rank is 353 this season. So difference of 252. Andrew Wiggins, difference of 186. Jordan Poole, he's there as we thought. I think his ADP was about 50-ish from memory, and he's sitting at about 170. Josh Giddey, similar. I think his ADP was slightly lower, around 60, and he's sitting around 160. Jalen Green was sort of in that, I think, 80 to 90 range, and he's sitting down around 180, 190. And Darius Garland, who's, I feel like he was sort of a top 30 player, and he's sitting down closer to the top 100. So there's just some names. There are others.
Can I ask you both on this one? Jalen Green last year finished the season, according to #basketball, at 153 at the end of the year. I think, is there just this thing now of all of that list? Scoot Henderson's a rookie. He's had his injuries. He's had his ins and outs. Wiggins was disappointing coming off the back of last season. Jordan Poole would be the hype for this season. Like we could have had a league-leading scorer here was the chat. Giddey's had a bunch of stuff going on, and we expect him to be better. Garland, injured, could be better. Turnovers really crushed him to begin the year. But do we keep on putting more faith in Jalen Green year after year after year to improve after that rookie season where he had that really nice breakout at the second end? But he's just been disappointing the last 2 years since. Like, do we expect him to be where eventually? Or do we just keep overdrafting him, hoping that's going to be the breakout year for Jalen Green and we want to be on it?
It's a tough one. I didn't draft him anywhere, so I'm not invested in him personally. But I do know he's been good the last little bit. He had one sort of dud game, but he's had 1, 2, 3, 4 games of 30 points, at least 30 points in the last 8. He's top, where are we? Top 30 over the last 2 weeks. So we're seeing a flash. We're seeing a glimpse of what we thought he might be able to do. But given we've seen 3 years of this, where he'll have a couple of weeks of productive offensive output, then he just goes back to shooting like 40% and adding nothing in the peripherals. I'm still not convinced. I don't know. He's one of those guys, I think a lot of fantasy managers are just drawn to those high volume scorers, and they will inflate their value in their mind because they can score 20 points a game. And they tend to not look at the fact that he's getting 3 assists, 0.8 steals, and shooting like 38%, whatever. So I still think he'll get overdrafted again next year. I just think he's one of those guys. But personally, I'm not convinced he can be anything other than what we've seen.
I completely agree. But he has been on a tear recently, and you do see that flash, and he's got that ability. But being such a high draft pick, I guess that's why people buy into the fact that maybe it's his year, maybe this is his time. But you look at that, the Houston talent, the young talent, it's immense. And his name's come up in trade rumors for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, then that's true. Yeah, I mean, the team around him is getting significantly better. They've got good young talent. They've got Van Fleet. Şengün is having a breakout season. Jabari Smith is looking. Jabari Smith is taking those steps that we thought he might. Jalen Green isn't. So, yeah, it's a bit frustrating. I've got our Aussie-themed question next, but I just thought I'd bring this one up because I did see something on Miles Bridges about an hour ago. Did Miles Bridges get drafted in your leagues? He wasn't in mine, and he shirted the balance of power in our league. Do you think he gets traded, maybe loses some value? Well, I'll answer that question in terms of my leagues. I feel he was probably drafted in a couple of them. I know he wasn't in 2 of my big leagues because as soon as our draft was done, I moved someone to an IR spot and went and picked him up off waivers. So I've got him in 2 leagues, and he has been really good. Do I think he gets traded? So I think the thought process here, or what we were hearing, was that Phoenix were quite interested, and that was going to basically not eliminate his value, but probably take him from a top 50 down to a top 100 player. I saw a short video on Twitter about an hour and a half ago of Woj, just giving a little bit of an update on trades and rumors and things like that. He indicated that he doesn't think Bridges is on the move. He thinks the Hornets now want to keep him and are interested in re-signing him. So
he's made it difficult, hasn't he? 2 40 pieces back to back.
He has. So I don't know. I mean, take from that what you will, but Woj is generally a pretty reputable source, obviously. So he tends to have his ear to the ground and knows what's going on. So if you have Bridges on your team, like I do, and you are worried about this trade sort of halving his value, maybe that's not the case. Maybe Charlotte are gonna move forward with him. Given, I mean, he's been well behaved. Let's say well behaved on the court this season, and he's played well. So I mean, he's done everything he can on the court to try and earn that roster spot. So I don't know. Your thoughts on Bridges, Dan?
I know we're going to talk about Bridges later on, so it's a really nice segue, but I do have him in a league, and it happened to be a keeper league. So I picked him up at the end of last season, thought, what's the chances of this guy playing well? It didn't cost me very much, so I did keep him. I copped a couple of weeks of zeros because in that league, ESPN, don't at me, but yeah, ESPN league, suspended players weren't allowed to go into IL. But I thought it was worth the punt, and it's paid dividends. What is he, top 40 in 9-cat at the moment, 26th in the last 3 weeks, which is insane. And yeah, 2 40 pieces in a row is making it very difficult for them to trade him away.
Yeah, I'll put the money where my mouth is, because I got I got aggregated because I know in one league, like you said, D-Mac, that you couldn't put him in IR straight away, and then you could put him in IR straight away. So it was depending on where you draft him, because I heard rumors that it could happen. So I tweeted out like, is this happening? Yes or no to Dr. A. He was like, yeah, no, that shouldn't be happening. I'll look at the back end. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's my advice. Like, don't trade him knowing you're going to miss that games. If you don't have like, you can't put him in IR, don't draft him. So I'll put my money where my mouth is. I picked him up on one league, my friends and family league. I picked him up on the 4th of November before he came back. So I had to kind of gauge where I was going to make a jump and take a couple of weeks of zeros there. If you drafted him and you drafted him early into an IR, you're bloody lucky as life of Cuz, because like he's just shifted the balance of power entirely. I've got him. I know I've traded him in one league for some stability, but geez, he's making it hard. And with unsurety around LaMelo Ball, he's obviously the big dog in town in Charlotte right now, and he's playing for money. It's a contract. Let's not the narrative. Like, I know it's not bullshit necessarily, but boys, the man's playing for money right now. He's lost a lot of favor, obviously, with his off-court bullshit. So what can you do to put money back in your pocket? Well, play good basketball, like do your job well and be paid for it. Like, I think it coincides at a point.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did drop a bag, didn't he, after the off-court issues? But so yeah, it's a bit of a comeback here. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do our Aussie question. We did movies, I think, last week. We did Vegemite the week before, or something like that. So this week I thought I would, and when I put this in, I don't know if you, hopefully you sort of understood what I meant by favorite local takeaway. So I don't mean McDonald's or KFC or that. I mean somewhere local where you live, where you will go. It might be a Chinese restaurant. It might be a takeaway. Well, well, I'll let you go, Matty. Take it away.
You put that in, King. I thought I knew exactly what you meant. So shout out to the local Thai place, Monkey King, down the road. It's straight up like to them. Manush Pizzeria over the street, and Charcoal Charlie's down the road here. Like, I've got my locals. Charcoal Charlie's represent. Got to get that flame grilled chicken. Nah, man, that's just, I love my local foods. And you know what? I don't know if you guys grew up like me, but when you can walk into a local fish and chip shop or to a local shop and say g'day to the owners, and you know them by name, or the people there, and they're like, g'day Matty, or g'day, g'day D-Mac, g'day Kingy. Like, that just makes it, that's when it's a local place. So yeah, for me, it's those guys, like, with a bullet, because my butcher shop isn't a takeaway place. I just buy the meat.
Dan, have you got any personal favorites or go-to places?
Yeah, number one for us, and it's a family favorite. It's the local fish and chips. So I'll probably give away where I live, but it's Melville Fish and Chips, just around the corner. Cheap as and top quality. So shout out to those guys. But kids love it. Can I ask you, what
do you do the, like, if you ask for like $2 of chips, like, back in the day where you go have $2 of chips and you walk away feeling like a king? Is it like that?
You can still do that. Absolutely is. And it's, just the wrapping as well. It's so old school, and I just love it. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
what about you, mate?
Hey.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, for me. So for me, it's actually, I mean, we've got a couple of go-tos here so where I live now, I live in Queanbeyan, which is, it's basically a suburb of Canberra in Australia. It's not technically, we're in another state, but we're 10 minutes from Canberra. Prior to living, so I grew up here, but we lived out about 20 minutes out in the country for about 10 years. It's where the kids went to school, so it's where we raised the kids. So I've got a few friends out there, that sort of thing. And there's a local takeaway out there called Swannies. And whenever I go and visit a friend out there, or I'm out there, I go and grab a big hamburger with the lot from Swannies.
Oh, yes.
Best burger I've had ever, by far. Nothing's even come close. And they know me too. So it's like you said, when I go in, they still know who I am, and they know what I'm getting. Swannies burger, large chips, chicken salt. They hear me coming, and they have it ready to go. So that would be my go-to.
Chicken salt.
It is a bit of a drive.
That's me. Chicken salt has to be chicken salt.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
But also the sign that they know you, that's a good sign, or that's bad? That means I'm going too often. And
That's a good sign. That's good. That means you get the extra chicken salt. It means, like, if it wasn't, The corresponding thing is if it was the local Maccas, instead of just stopping at the 2.5 whips on the 50-cent cone, they're giving Kingy the 4 every time. They're just like, no.
Part of the reason is because the people that own it, I was an early childhood teacher out there where I lived. And so I was their kids' teacher. So that's why they know me as well. It's not because I spent all my time in the takeaway store. I did actually have a relationship, friendship with them away from the food as well. All right. On to our – no trades have happened, just if anyone watching along. Yeah, nothing. Twitter's pretty dead. Very little happening. So we don't really have any trades to talk about. So – we'll go with our hypothetical fantasy trades. Now, we had Miles Bridges last week on this as well. We did Miles Bridges and Mikal Bridges. It was a battle of the Bridges. We've gone with Bridges again this week against Tobias Harris, who has been very good this season, I would say, and with no Joel Embiid for, let's say, 6 weeks at least. Tobias Harris is probably option B, I would say, offensively behind Tyrese Maxey. So whose was this one? You have to remind me.
That's mine, Kingy.
It was yours. Well, you can lead us off then. What are these two? What do the numbers look like over the last few weeks?
Yeah, so we said that Miles Bridges has been the 40th ranked 9-cap player on the season, but over the last 3 weeks, he's 26th. Tobias Harris isn't far behind him and quite similar in style and play, but with trade deadline coming up, and we just spoke about Miles Bridges potentially going to the Suns, maybe not now. I've been getting a couple of questions around these two in particular, straight swap Miles Bridges and Tobias Harris. And Matty, is this something that you've actually come across yourself?
Yeah, I know. I put it in chat, and I'll literally read you the message because I got it in one of my leagues that I'm in with some mates that I got invited to, and I've been trying to. I'm undecided on what to do with Miles Bridges, to be honest, as an owner. So I traded him for Tobias Harris in one of my mates' leagues. He sent me the trade for Miles, and I said only if it's Toby, and he was like done. And he revised it and sent it out in a Fantrax league last week. I tried the exact same trade today for you in my friends and family league. I'm like, I'll give this a shot, and I sent it back, and I had don't want a bloke with a DV charge on his name. So literally like the personal side came into it. So this is where the separation of church and state, D-Mac, I think it's got a lot of people like in their feels about it.
Yeah, you hear about some leagues that just, they will not allow him to be drafted, will not allow him to be rostered, which is interesting because I think you can put those things aside, and there's a lot of guys in the NBA, and we won't name names, but a lot of guys that have less than perfect records across their lives. So yeah, DV, it's never one to shirk away from. Very, very much against that sort of crap. But yeah, I'm able to separate the two. So for me, if I'm looking at these two guys, from what Kingy was saying with Woj's update not too long ago, I'm probably leaning towards Miles. What about you guys?
Look, it is close. When you posed this earlier today, I was probably still under the sort of the impression that Bridges was going to be traded. So for me, it was Tobias Harris just because of that uncertainty. And obviously, if we do this show at this time tomorrow, we'll have an answer. We'll know where Miles Bridges is playing. So, but based on what we know, and I don't know, assuming he stays in Charlotte, I still think I might go with Harris, which is it's very off-brand for me because I'm not a big Toby Harris guy. I don't know. He's always been good, but he sort of doesn't really set the world on fire in any one category. But I just think with Embiid out, and look, I mean, another part or another factor in this decision could be what do the Sixers do at the deadline? Are they bringing someone in? Are they bringing another center in? So there is a lot of uncertainty, but yeah, I think I'm going to go Tobias Harris. And I don't know why. I just am.
I'm in my feels about it because I don't know if I was. This is the thing because I did this trade already. I was fine with it, but the thing is, when I just got when I just got declined with don't want a DV guy, I'm like, well, that's your loss. So my gut instinct was like, actually, like Miles has been pretty elite. The one thing that we need, like, and shout out to Mitch Casey as well. I think one of the first chats I ever had with Mitch Casey over Twitter was like, we're talking about guys, and I call Chris Middleton and I call Toby Harris houses. Like it's houses Middleton and houses Harris. Like they're safe as houses. They're safe bets. You know what you're going to get. But to be fair, Toby's been fucking elite this season. He's the 43rd ranked player on the year. Like on the year, this is including Joel Embiid having an MVP caliber season. This is including Tyrese Maxey being an all-star player this year in Philadelphia. So I just, you know what, hats off to the man. Let's give him his flowers instead of being houses, for being a little mini mansion. So I don't know if I was offended, but the one neg we have to say is that if you're looking long-term, the one mark we have to put on Miles Bridges is that he has a 2-game week in the NBA playoffs. So that's the only thing we need to keep on our flags come down the track. So if you're fighting and you're in the playoffs, he has a 2-game week in week 21. But in next week, they play 5 games. And with no Lonzo Ball, Jesus, Mother Mary and Joseph, you could put a hurt on. It's 5, 4, 3, 4, and then 2 and 21. But if you go into 22 and 23, God forbid you go into 24, it's 4 games for those 3 weeks as well. Comparatively, Philadelphia is all over the shop. They go 3, 4, 3. Then they've got 3 weeks of 4s from 21. So if you're looking at it playoff schedule-wise that way, if you can take the hit that 1 week, but if he puts up the numbers that he's putting up right now, like it's almost pretty much the equivalent of 4 games in 2. That's the only knock on him right now. So I'm gonna take Miles because you know what? Why not? I'm gonna ride him this week.
Guys, I am a bit biased just because he is in my keeper league, and there's going to be a bit of longevity as well. Let's hope that there's no more domestic violence issues. Maybe there's no more court appearances, those types of things. So I am a little bit biased, and he's doing really well for me this season. But yeah, interesting thoughts around that playoff schedule. I guess you almost need to consider if you do go deep into the season, not recommended, is Embiid going to be back week 23, week 24 as well?
Yeah. There's lots of, I mean, as with all of these discussions tonight, there's a lot of moving pieces. A lot could change in the next, 10 hours and 16 minutes now. So
I think I'm going to swing with Kingy. As of this second, I'm going to take Toby. Just, you know what? I'm going to take the houses. I'm going to take the mini mansion. I'm going to do that because I don't know, because there is some shifty shit happening in Charlotte, and this brings me to my one, I guess. Great pushing of the buttons, Kingy. Jesus, look at that.
I'm on it.
You're bloody hell. See, my whole thing as well is that we don't know what's going on with Charlotte. So I think we have questions around Philadelphia. They are a contending team making a contending move. But none of that's a neg on Toby Harris. Charlotte's been woeful. And their injury reporting, Mark Williams has been out. Gordon Hayward has been healthy, by the way, and able to play the last 2 or 3 games, and they've just held him back. Maybe because of the trade deadline. We don't know what's going on. Miles is obviously cooking. LaMelo Ball is being out. Well, I don't know what his status is. He's healthy. He's not healthy. He plays and then he has a flare-up or swelling. So this is where I thought my interesting exercise would be, what about 2 teams that are in a similar scenario, like the New York Knicks that have been injury-prone? OG Anunoby's been out as of late. Julius Randle, we all know, is out for the next probably 3 more weeks. Mitch Robinson's been out. Isaiah Hartenstein has come in there. Jalen Brunson has been injured now as well. And so there's a little bit of a bump happening here in New York. So they're in a bit of a flux because of injuries, just like Charlotte. And I think Brandon Miller has been the hottest name. I did the pod the other night. I put him on the cover of our episode because he's just been amazing. Like the bloke has been on fire. To be fair, these guys in player rankings, they're not too dissimilar over the past few weeks as well. And so this is where, when we look at this as an exercise, like you said, D-Mac, we look at the last 2 or 3 weeks. And so over the last 3 weeks, Dante DiVincenzo has been the 29th best player in the last 3 weeks. And I picked him up in 3 leagues off waivers after the trade, thinking that he might be top 1, like maybe inside the top 100, 110 if I'm lucky. But you know what? For a waiver guy, great. I'll add him. This is bloody elite. Brandon Miller, for all the hype, has, funnily enough, only been 3 positions behind and at rank 32. And so with all the uncertainty, this is an uncertainty question. At this exact point in time, before the trade deadline, before people come back from their injuries, who do you take right now? Because Dante DiVincenzo put on another clinic today. It's ridiculous. The man is ridiculous right now.
He's turned into Steph Curry. He has turned into Steph. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Like, the guy is just. And do we remember when Thibodeau was benching him?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to make of it. Like, do we need to have him? Do we need to have the guys piss tested at this point? Because he's doing Tom Thibodeau minutes. He's averaging like 30 points a game. The thing which I have loved is the steals, and that's been incredible. Like, his steals, his defense, his everything, his commitment to stepping up in New York. Like, I don't know. Who do you take? Do you take Brandon Miller with LaMelo Ball having to come back in? Gordon Hayward, we don't know. There was even word a couple of weeks ago that he might re-sign for a smaller contract in Charlotte. Mark Williams has to come back. What happens with this team? And if Miles Bridges doesn't move, we all know that he needs to continue to eat. What becomes of Brandon Miller after this incredible stretch that he's had? Who do you take going forward until the end of your fantasy playoffs? Not for real basketball, just for fantasy.
Matty, I just wanted to touch on Dante. Like, he's got a couple of mates from college days as well. And so we've talked about it previously. I've talked about it on my show that people in comfortable environments and the culture seems to be really good in New York as well. He's thriving at the moment. Yes, some injuries have helped him with some playing time, but he's looking comfortable. He looks comfortable in his skin. I think he's playing at an elite level. But going to your question, for me, I'm looking at rest of season value. I'm looking at value come fantasy playoffs. And just with those injuries to the Knicks, I think come playoff time, Dante is not going to completely fall off a cliff, but I think his value is just going to be a little bit muted compared to someone like a Brandon Miller, who I think can have sustained value. LaMelo, I can't see him playing consistently. He may play and then he may sit. He may not even be playing for the rest of the season. We just don't know. And like you said, the Hornets reporting is a shit show at the moment. So for me, it's Brandon Miller.
And for 19, 20, and 21 of your fantasy weeks, the Knicks also, because we should start to look at this just a little bit more to get value. The Knicks do play 3 games each of those 3 weeks before hitting 4 from the rest of them. So it all depends on when you finish your league in that regards as well. What about you, Kingy?
Oh, just making sure I'm not on mute. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going back through my league so I've picked up DiVincenzo in a league, and I was just having a look when I picked him up because it was before.
I'll do the same.
So I picked him up 1st of January. I picked him up in a league, and pull up his game log here.
Mate, I picked him up one day beforehand. I must have picked him up on the day of the trade. So the trade must have happened between. Was it New Year's Eve? Because I picked him up on New Year's Eve from free agency in one league.
It could have been.
No. Oh, fuck me. I'm lucky. I dropped him on Christmas Day, and I picked him. I added him on Christmas Day for a stream. I dropped him on Boxing Day, and then I must have re-added him again. Then I added him again from free agents because I'm looking at me of the last 3 actions in one league that I grabbed him.
Yeah, so I got him. Yeah, first, just coming off. I wonder if, hang on, is that my time that I picked him up? So I picked him up on the 1st of January, our time, which is the 31st. I'm just seeing. So he had it because he had a 38-point game on the 30th. So no, I would have missed that. So he had a 38-point game in a loss to the Pacers on the 30th of December. So I would have picked him up for every game. So every game I've picked him up in since, he's scored double digits except one. All I picked him up for, really, in that league that I grabbed him, I just wanted steals, assists, and threes. That was really all I was looking for, and he's done that in spades. And he was doing that before the injuries. So he was starting. He was only playing 25, 26 minutes as a starter. So the injuries have certainly helped. But, yeah, I mean, as you said, D-Mac, he's just happy. He's content. He's happy with mates. Yeah. He's just running around. He's getting big minutes. Brandon Miller has been, on a tear. I mean, he's been phenomenal the last couple of weeks. For me, it's another hard one. I think I might go DiVincenzo just because I know the scoring has been phenomenal, and that's not sort of what his game is usually built on. I feel like his foundation is strong enough, or his floor is strong enough, that even when he's scoring 12 or 14 points, he'll still get 3 threes. He'll still get you 5 assists. He'll still get you 1.2, 1.4 steals. Where I just think we've seen Brandon Miller go up and down, and that's I mean that's rookies. He'll have this real hot stretch, and then he'll start. He might lose some confidence. His shots will start missing, and then I just don't feel like he has that game that DiVincenzo has to fall back on. So for me, it's probably DiVincenzo. I think, but I think you could probably also consider selling high on both of them at the moment. Yeah,
100%. I made Miller my sell high the guy the other night. He was my pick for that one. And it's really interesting when you say that when we look back over the last, when we do look back at the past week, it's really funny to see where they've gone. Dante DiVincenzo in the past week has been the number 8. I just looked up and I saw Wemby's number 1 jersey and I got very distracted very quickly. He's been, in this stretch of Brandon Miller, he has been the 12th best player. So this is peak Brandon Miller. He's been the 12th best player in the past week. And Dante has been the 18th best player. So we're splitting hairs over. They're so closely tied together on whichever depth chart you look. And this is the interesting thing. They both play, and this is what I really thought really interesting about. They both play shooting guard, small forward. So in whatever league you're in, you get them eligible in a guard spot, you get them eligible at SG, but you also get them eligible in an SF and a forward spot. So they make them really good weapons to deploy in pretty much all formats as well. So I'm going to take, because I was a Charlotte Hornets fan in the 90s and I don't own him in any leagues, and I have a bit of FOMO, I'll probably just take Miller for the long term that I want to have him in his rookie season. But I think they've both got sustained value the rest of the way, especially in fantasy. I think when Randall's back, though, obviously, DiVincenzo goes off a cliff.
So this is mine. Now, I was actually going to use DiVincenzo in my matchup, but you beat me to it. So I was going to do, and when I look at the player rankings, they're probably not close enough to do it. But I was going to do DiVincenzo and Ao Dosunmu rest of the season because I think DiVincenzo is the better player, but Dosunmu has a pretty clear path to minutes at the moment and has been playing well. So I don't know. That was mine, but then because I didn't want to do 2 DiVincenzo. Fair. So I just like Wemby. I like talking about Wemby. So I just had a look at where he's ranked over the last 3 weeks and found a comparable player in terms of rank and position. So I've gone for Victor Wembanyama and Domantas Sabonis. Look, it's 2 similar players, as I said, in terms of where they play, but quite different in terms of how they play. I'm going to just go through Wembanyama's box scores because they're fun to read.
Yeah, they are. I'm looking at them.
I mean, you could say they played today. It was today, I think. Yeah, it was today. They lost to the Heat. And you could probably say it was a down game for Wembanyama. He had 18 and 13 with 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. And that's a down game for a rookie. He's playing back-to-backs now. The minutes limit, I mean, he's not officially on a minutes limit, but he's playing 28 a game. I don't think that they'll roll him out there for 34, 35 minutes at all for the rest of the season. But we're seeing even in 28 minutes, he's a first-round player. Sabonis, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a walking double-double, almost a walking triple-double now. So assists, rebounds are elite. Points are solid enough. He's efficient, not super efficient from the free throw line, doesn't hit a lot of threes, doesn't really get you defensive stats. Wemby scores a little bit more. He just has to, so he does. Not as efficient, but he hits threes. He gets blocks. He gets steals. He gets sneaky assists. No, certainly not to the level that Sabonis does, but he has had – we had 1 triple-double.
His ability to pass out of the post is just the most freakish thing I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
his ability, his vision,
so tall,
and
he can just once he figures I mean, he's played 45 games or something in his career in the NBA.
Give him 200 and imagine what he can do.
Yeah, it's going to be Anyway, enough of me just drooling over Victor Wembanyama. Dan, who would you go in this matchup?
Again, another biased pick here, but it's Wemby for me for across-the-board production. But the caveat is, if you are hunting blocks, then supposedly you could look at Sabonis. But I think for just overall value in a nutshell, it's Wemby for me. And I think it's that close. And yes, I'm biased because I have him in a keeper league. I happen to pick him up first pick or first round for myself, which seemed high at the time. But yeah, he's better than advertised.
And Matty, what about you?
Yeah, and I'm just going to take Wemby because I'm just looking forward to seeing what pick I get in drafts next year and see if I can get one in the top 6 and take him. I think that's
where's he going next year, guys?
This is what we've had this conversation in the last couple weeks, and I just think, and I've had a really good think about it because I was asked the other day where I do it. Where do I do it next year? And let's be honest. There's guys who are going to come up, and the usual names are going to be there, but Wemby's buying them drinks at the bar already. He's whispering in their ear, "Do you want to take me home?" And they're like, yeah, maybe, yeah, okay. Do you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, we know who our goats are. We might talk fantasy and we might talk all this impressive shit at the end of the day, but let's be honest. The nuts and bolts of our game is we know that the first pick is generally going to be one of two blokes. It's going to be Jokic or SGA after this season. So we can kind of rule out a 1 and 2, and we're pretty good with those positions. Tyrese Halliburton might slip a little bit because of his injuries this year, and he was flirting with that value. So we kind of think about Joel Embiid. Where does he go? If there's 3 guys who we like with that, and he takes a knock, I think you're bang on, Kingy. I think he could be 3 now because of the injuries of Joel. I think that we're looking very much that you could be seeing his ADP next year anywhere between 5 and 8 in whatever league you're in. I really am curious to see where he starts flying off, because if you look at, you've mentioned, Kingy, about the ADP research from earlier this year. Who you really going to be thinking on the year? Like if we look at the season, the number 1 pick is Jokic, SGA, Kawhi. Injury risk, people don't want to take him in the first round generally. Luka, people will flirt with him maybe a 3 or 4. Kyrie, with all his injuries, has been the 5th. Joel, injuries, 6. Kevin Durant, 7. Anthony Davis, 8. Booker is 9. Don Mitchell, 10. Steph, 11, even through down. And guess who is number 13 after James Harden? It's Victor Wembanyama. So I think, Kingy, you're dead on the money. I think you're the first analyst to call it early. He's a top 3 pick next year.
Yeah, I think for me, the top 5 next year will be Jokic, SGA, Wemby, Halliburton, and Doncic. I think they'll be the top 5. I think Embiid will slide, especially given he didn't have a repair surgery. He had a trim. That's now the second time that he's had that procedure on that knee. So he can't have much meniscus left. And a guy that big with a dodgy meniscus, I just don't see any way he can play more than 50 games. I could be wrong. I certainly could be wrong, but I definitely won't be taking a chance on him in the top 5 next year. I know per game he's just a beast, but I just think these once you get that mindset, and he had it early in his career, and then it took 3 or 4 years for people to finally get over it. Yeah. People still aren't over it with Kawhi, and I still reckon Kawhi will fall next season a little bit because of the past. So people just remember these things, and I just think Wemby will go top 3, and honestly, I'm going to just keep starting a new dynasty league until I get the first pick, so that I can get Wemby on my team for an extended period of time, because I just think he's going to be dominant for a decade.
What about you, D-Mac? Because you drafted him in dynasty this year. Where did you pick him up?
He was my first pick, but there were a lot of keepers. But a guy before me had the first pick, overall pick, after all keepers were taken. Yeah, he took Dame. So I was like, thank God. And had Dame had fallen, sure, I would have taken Dame. I was assuming that Wemby would go 1 or 2, and luckily for me, he went 2, which was to myself. You look at what he's doing. 28 minutes, Kingy, you mentioned it. All the other guys in the first round, no one is less than 32 minutes per game, which is scary. And he's going to put it together. He's going to have a stronger support crew, or a more mature support crew next season as well. Not going to miss these back-to-backs. It is very scary.
His per 36s have him as the 12th pick this year. So per 36 stats, Victor Wembanyama on the season is 12th this year. And that's ridiculous. Like look, again, generational talent. We talk about these guys like where it's rarefied air we're talking in, but when you can build, imagine, I think we spoke about it last week, Kingy. D-Mac, if you'd like to whet your appetite and go and get your local fish and chips, this is going to be up there. Imagine getting him with your first or second or third pick next year. Look at the guys you can build around to get blocks locked down early in like the third round. If you get like an elite scorer in the second to help complement him and some assists, you could fill out a really well-rounded team by going blocks early, which we all know are hard to get. But you lock him down, Chet will be imagine getting him with the first pick and then sliding back at the turn and sitting there at pick 22 next year if you've got like the second or third pick and you pick up Chet. Like you're done.
Combined 4.3 stocks. So 1.2 steals from a big man like that. That is absolute elite.
Imagine what you can then do in the third round as you turn back around and someone like Kawhi Leonard has already fallen to the third round where you can go. Like the mind, like I'm just like, please let that happen. Like it's so good.
They're fun to have. I've got Chet and Wemby in the industry pickup league, and although it hasn't been a super successful season because a few of my guards have been injured and not done what I thought they would do, Wemby and Chet have been incredible, like better than I expected, and no one touches me in blocks generally, just because I'm getting but I think they're averaging about 3 and 2.5 blocks respectively. So there's 5 to 6 blocks per game. 4 games? So I'm getting 25 blocks just out of 2 players. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's. I'm going Wemby. I didn't really give an answer, but I think we're all going Wemby. Yeah. I don't really have Sabonis anywhere. I know he's really good, but the upside and the excitement of having Wemby on your team for me just outweighs that. So.
And can I just say, how great are those San Antonio City Edition uniforms for Wemby? I think we all need one of those in the Halliburton Indy uniform from this year. I think they're two of the best.
They look great.
What are you saying,
Player of the Year? I was just going to say, do you think he's up there, Defensive Player of the Year? Is he going to win that?
Yes.
Wemby?
Yeah. I haven't looked at the odds, but surely he's there.
I'm doing the check right now for you. I actually thought that's a good shot. Oh, yeah, whipping out the app. I just whipped it out. All-Star game, East versus West. West will win. NBA Player Awards. Here we go. Defensive Player of the Year. No, we shouldn't put money on this, surely.
Who is it? Gobert.
It's Gobert at $1.14, who I think is very good and has had an incredible season. Like, honestly, flowers to Rudy. But OG Anunoby is second. Chet is third at 23. AD fourth at 41. Jarrett Allen, funnily enough, is currently suspended from betting, which is a very odd thing just to pick up. Just to pick up the fact that when you pick up an app and Jarrett Allen, we're doing this live. I don't know if people should be checking this and we should put people onto it. But the fact that Jarrett Allen is the only suspended odds is really like, why? Do I put $10 on that? Because it's going to be more than 41. And he's had an incredible season, and the Cavs have been great, and he was a contender. But then it's Victor Wembanyama at 51 to 1.
$51.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's be honest. You're not going to ever get an MVP. You'll get Rookie of the Year. But are we looking at a potential for, look, let's be honest, they're not very good. Minnesota is very good. That's where you generally get the odds, who's improved the defense, but their rotations and everything that they run out there are incredible. Like, that's just fair enough. But if the league wants to put some, I can just see it. Look, I can see people just thinking Wemby down because it's a vote of the media, isn't it? Like, all these ones are media votes, and analysts and coaches, they all get votes in there, don't they? King, you'll probably have a vote by now.
Yeah. No, I don't. No. Yeah, look, 51. I don't think he gets it just because the team is so bad. Like, as you said, I think it'll be Gobert. I think if the Lakers can turn it around, Anthony Davis would be worth putting a little bit on.
At 41 to 1.
Yeah, if they can make some moves here at the deadline and sort of trend upwards and get into that 5th seed or something like that, maybe Anthony Davis gets some love. Anunoby, I'm really surprised because he was not playing well in Toronto. So this is based on like 3 weeks in New York before he got
injuries and injuries. And like he's not good enough to be second over Chet or AD. To be fair, he's getting a couple more steals and playing good rotation. Like he's literally helping their defense close out and actually roll to the man who he should be rolling to when there's someone in the corner. Like,
and traditionally, it's not the perimeter defenders that get these awards. Maybe Marcus Smart is an exception, but usually it's the big man.
And Rudy Gobert was a previous recipient, so I can see that. But so that means even flirting with the idea of a guy like AD or Allen or Wemby. Bam is at 60, but even Brock Lopez is 126. Like ridiculous.
It's worth just put a sneaky $10 on a couple of those guys.
It's a sneaky tenner.
It is a sneaky tenner.
Less fish and chips for me.
More fish and chips if you win. You can buy the whole fish and chip shop and some pineapple fritters for that.
A lot of fish and chips for a month. So I'm going to let you boys head out in a sec. I just thought I'd throw up this final question. Evening, gents. K Flow, hello. Who do you reckon would be worth dropping after the trade deadline between Pods and Wiggins, or should I just hold on to them rest of season? Have 4 Warriors in my team. Yeah, 4 Warriors. That's a lot of Warriors.
That's a stack. That's a Warriors stack right
there. Look, I think Curry. Well, Curry obviously is a hold. Kuminga. I don't know. Do we believe in him yet?
Yep.
We do?
I'm a believer, yeah.
You're a believer, okay.
Yeah.
Do we believe... Wiggins, I don't know if they're going to try and move him, but for me, it would be Pods, just given his role and he's pretty consistent. He gets out of position stats. I don't know. I think it's pretty easily Pajemski here, but it will depend on, does Wiggins get traded? Maybe he gets traded somewhere and a fresh start is good for him. So I'd just be holding for now, but based on what we've seen and what we know now, it would be Pods for me. Yep.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But yeah, Wiggins is probably most likely on that Warriors team to be traded. So yeah, watch this space come this time tomorrow, and perhaps he's one that's going to get a lot of value.
Yeah. And so for anyone who just has nothing to do and is watching the background of D-Mac's screen there, the dogs are going nuts.
Yeah, they're going insane. It's about dinner time for everyone in the house, including them.
Yeah,
they're hungry. We've got 2 new kittens who are doing the same thing, but you can't see them because they're tiny. They fit in my hand. So
to be fair, how's this? One my kitten has curled up right beside me. She does that whenever I get pod, and Daddy takes long. How's this? Come on, Miyagi.
Miyagi, I love that.
Miss Miyagi. There you go. So this is her cameo. This is the caddy. This is the kitty cat. She just literally, or like a kid. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
love
a happy cat.
Well, I'm the Daniel son to your Miss Miyagi.
You're the Daniel son. There you go. You got it. There you go. I've got that and a dog who torments her. So
yeah,
go me.
Yeah. No, we had a cat with us for. His name was Danilo because at the time Gallinari was my favorite player. And yeah, he unfortunately we had to have him put down 2 weeks ago, I think.
Sorry, Kingy.
Which was pretty. That's why I actually missed the show. Remember, I missed the show a couple of weeks ago.
Did.
That
yeah,
was
man.
why.
I'm sorry to hear,
because it happened on the Thursday night. All pretty sudden. It was cancer. We did the right thing. We only just found out he had cancer. So, but we now have 2 new ones filling the void and running.
What are they? What kind of kitties are they?
They're just like little. We just got them from the pound, so they were born at the pound. Their mother had been taken away, off to a house. Their sister had gone, so we took both of them, and they might be in bed now. But so their names are Frank and Ralph. So we've just gone for some nice old school names.
Love it, Kingy.
Yeah, so they're eating the plants. I know they've been eating the plants, and so we still have to monitor what they're doing, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that'll do it. It's about an hour. Still no more trades. We tried our best. We hung around, but nothing. So
very disappointing from Adrian, by the way. I expected more of Adrian. Like, just do better, mate.
Yeah.
I'm a Shams guy, so I'm just waiting for Shams.
Well, both. Yeah, I have them both up, ready to go. So, yeah, no trades. But so D-Mac, you sort of indicated you've got a show. So what have you got coming up tomorrow, next 24 hours?
Yeah, trade deadline show, hour and a half before the deadline. We'll see what happens. Hopefully there's some trades by then that we can discuss. We'll see if we can discuss any live trades, a bit of a reaction show as well, which my eldest daughter, has been wondering, why am I not doing reaction shows? Because they're her favorite. So this could be a reaction show. And then we'll get on Kayla as well, so we can do a bit of a review straight after the deadline. So that'll be fun.
And Matty, what about Insight? Are you guys doing some deadline stuff?
Yeah, mate, we're doing a show on Saturday morning, our usual breakdown on Saturday, because there's a bunch of lives tomorrow afternoon breaking it down and afterwards. So we're doing instead of gut reactions, we're doing the must stream Saturday. So it's stream Saturday. So where you're going to get the most value out of all the guys and all the places that have been left. So in all the holes and voids for all of the games that are being played on Saturday. Skinny, I have a couple special guests lined up as well. It's a big game for Saturday, but you're also going to get the Sunday 2-game game out of it. So it'll be, when we're doing it, it's going to be the Friday game, which is 6. So where are you going to get the most value for those 6 games? So we're going to do our reactions to all of the trades, but also where you're going to get the most value for your streams for the weekend to sort yourself out while these guys land in their new destinations. Invitation, Kingy, D-Mac, always welcome on Saturday mornings. It's a balcony coffee session. We literally open it up and whoever... Oh, it's Gorkum! Kingy, do you remember last weekend our bloke Gorkum, who popped over from the Netherlands? Whose name means glory.
Oh,
he randomly popped in. Look at this at the end. G'day, Gork.
We've got a question. Would you drop Jabari Smith for a potential high upside guy such as Taylor Hendricks? Assuming Jabari is your worst player and Olynyk Collins moved today. Thank you all, guys. I drop Jabari. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd drop Jabari Smith.
No, I wouldn't drop Jabari Smith.
I think obviously, yeah, Hendricks, sensible. There's a bit of upside there, but I think Jabari Smith, I'd still have him. I just think his role is pretty secure. He's been good. So, yeah, probably not Jabari Smith. If Jabari Smith is your worst player, you must have a pretty good roster.
Pretty bloody good. That's a pretty elite roster.
Yeah. Yes. And if Olynyk and Collins are moved today, maybe we could reevaluate it. But again, we don't know who's coming back. We don't know what Hendrick's role will be. We assume that he would get minutes, but we don't know for sure. So I probably wouldn't if it's Jabari Smith. But in terms of Taylor Hendricks, I think he could be a winner if Olynyk and or Collins are moved. And as we said earlier in the show, I think Olynyk probably gets moved because I just think there's so many teams that could use a floor spacing center at the moment. Oklahoma City being another one of those. So, do they get a big man, do you think, this trade deadline? Do you think they get the big middles they need? I think they need to. I think they need to get a big. Andre Drummond has been in trade talks, sort of rumored to be another center that could go somewhere. Phoenix, I think I saw, were interested in him. So, fingers crossed when we wake up in the morning, there's actually been some trades, and because otherwise I too have a trade deadline recap show coming up, and if there's no trades, I'll have nothing to recap. So it'll just be me and my guests talking about fish
Xavier
and
Tillman.
or something.
Fish and chips and Xavier Tillman. Yeah. And
Xavier Tillman. Yep, that's right. I'm going to pop this up anyway because then my cat gets a shout out. You're welcome. This is our fun show really of the week when we just sort of hang out. And yes, rest in peace, Danilo. Yeah, he was absolutely. It was a sad few days. I won't lie. It wasn't fun. But we got him cremated and we got his little thing back today. So nice. You got that nearby? You know what? I'm going to pour. You still got another beer there, D-Mac? Let's raise it up for. Let's raise one up for Kingy. Let's raise up for Kingy and for Danilo. Where is he? Hang on, 2 seconds. Go for it. I've got my little fat lamb, which I don't know if it's I should be drinking anything to animal related after this.
It's acceptable.
I feel really,
It's acceptable.
I feel really bad.
There's no way you would have let me carry him when he was alive. Here we go.
Is that a
Oh,
little
there's-
kitty?
Yeah, so that's like
It
a
is, a
sleeping
sleeping
cat
cutie.
urn
It
thing.
is. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute, Kingy.
that is
So
cute.
that'll sit up.
I'm actually. Can you? You know what? I'm going to take a photo of that because I actually think that's one of the most beautiful things. Hold that back. Hold that bad boy up. I'm going to show the wife that afterwards because when my little girl goes, when Miyagi goes, that's hey, let's raise it up for Danilo.
Big time. Danilo.
Danilo.
Where do you keep Kingy? Where is he kept? Front and center?
Yeah, front and center. So we've got to get. So the cat I had before him was Nev, named after Nev Campbell, because she was a little bit of a hobby of mine.
I just thought she was into. I just thought she was into Denise Richards, but that's just me.
So she is also in an urn, and so just up on a shelf as you walk in the front door. And so we've got to get some frames done with some engraving and stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
I feel
so
guilty.
no,
We
they're
need to
very-
do better. Our two in the pantry in an urn. So we need to do better. And I'm married to a vet, so we need to do much better.
There you go. Yeah, well, at least they're near the food. That's
Exactly. Yeah, just like the good old days.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I love
All right, so I'm going to let you boys go. Everyone here is going to bed, so I guess I might try and get to bed early so that I can get up early. D-Mac, you've got to be up stupidly early, so I'll let you have dinner. Thanks for coming on, boys. We'll be Matty and I will be back next week, and we'll get Dan on again at some point in the next few weeks. That will do it for today's show. Remember to check out all of our content over at FBIBasketball.com. Follow both of these guys at NBA GWiz, at NBA Fantasy Bible. I am at Adam King 91. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, anywhere else you can find podcasts and videos. We'll be there. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, like. Until next time, catch up.
Thanks, guys.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.